The Valley of the Kings. Introduction. The tombs in the Valley of the Kings have their conceptual origins in the pyramids of the Old Kingdom. The pyramids of the later Old Kingdom, at the end of the 5th and especially in the 6th dynasty, provided the models. The inner chambers have a bent floor plan and were magically protected with pyramid texts. The same floor plan can also be found in the early tombs in the Valley of the Kings. In the Old Kingdom, the mortuary temple was built directly onto the pyramid. Later, the mortuary temples are separated from the grave in order to better protect it from looting. In the first intermediate period, Thebes served the local kings of the 11th dynasty, Antef I and Antef III, as a burial place. Their graves lie in the El Tarif region, northeast of the later necropolis. They built tombs with a huge courtyard that had gate-like openings. They were monumentalized versions of private tombs. They are tombs with a huge courtyard with gate-like openings. These form a series and are called saf graves. The openings between the pillars led to the grave chapels of the grave owners, his family. There were also chambers for his court. However, the tombs were missing the pyramid. The first pharaoh of the 11th dynasty, Mentuhotep I, had a mortuary temple with 2 underground corridor tombs built in the valley of Deir el-Bahari. The terrace temple was built with pillars and is therefore similar to the Saf tombs. The later kings of the Middle Kingdom built their tombs further north. Only in the north did the custom of building pyramids survive. The following kings were buried in pyramids that had a mud brick core. With the decline of the Middle Kingdom and the rule of the Hyksos in the Delta, a local dynasty, the 17th dynasty, was established in Thebes, which was fairly independent of the Hyksos. We know from text sources Papyrus Abbott that the local kings Antef I and V were buried in the area of El Tarif. The graves can no longer be seen today, but the sarcophagi were found. With the beginning of the New Kingdom, a new burial site was chosen for the kings. It is not entirely certain which king of the 18th dynasty was the first to be buried in the valley. The grave KV20 can be safely assigned to King Thutmose I and Hatshepsut. Research is still uncertain about Amenhotep I for a long time. Grave MB was considered his grave. For some time now, grave KV39 has been considered the likely grave of Amenhotep I. The Valley of the Kings remained the burial place of the pharaohs until the end of the 20th dynasty. KV4 by Ramses I is the last royal tomb. After that came the third intermediate period and the rulers who only really ruled the Delta. They were buried in Tanis. In Thebes, Amun's theocracy ruled under the leadership of Amun's high priests, as a state within a state. Development of architecture in the valley. The graves can be divided into 3 categories in terms of location, floor plan and grave entrances. The tombs of the early to middle 18th dynasty lie in the valley ends, often they are carved directly into the rock walls. They are usually found in crevices in rocks or under dried-up waterfalls. The graves therefore had to be well sealed to prevent them from filling up during occasional rains. The well shaft certainly also served a practical purpose here. The grave entrances, often covered by rubble, are barely visible in this type of grave. The floor plan is curved. This shape was probably intended to represent the course of the sun in the underworld. At the beginning, the hours of the Amjuat book are not arranged in chronological order, but primarily according to the cardinal points of the underworld journey in the grave. The tombs of the later 18th dynasty and the entire 19th dynasty lie further down in the valley floor. They were often driven through scree slopes into the rock. This type of grave suffered greatly from flooding over the millennia. They are also prone to faults and fissures, as these graves often cut through the soft shale layer of the valley. The floor plan of a tomb from this period was influenced by Akhenaten in the post-Amarna period. A straight structure is chosen, which is slightly offset with a point in the area of the first colonnade. Only the tomb of Ramses II stands out from this development with its curved floor plan. From Merenta onwards, the jagged structure is abandoned in favor of a now completely straight structure. When it comes to decoration, Horn switches for the first time from pure wall painting to a painted relief. From Seti II onwards, only one person was depicted on each side of the pillar, so the scene is now spread over two adjoining pillar sides. A number of new problems arose for the tombs of the 20th dynasty, which contributed to the choice of location. Many places in the valley were now already occupied with tombs. The builders had to protect the graves from both flooding and looting. Therefore, the graves were driven into the rock at ground level on a rock spur and the entrances remained visible. The water flowed sideways past the rock spur. These areas were also still unused. Nevertheless, water came in through cracks in the rock or through the entrance. These graves were usually not blocked with rubble in the passage, but rather closed with wooden doors. This enabled regular checks. The graves are now corridor-like. On the one hand, the corridors became wider and higher, while the chambers decreased in size. Since many graves are unfinished, the respective ruler was often buried in adapted corridors. The quality of the decoration also tends to decline, although there are still outstanding works. As the valley became more occupied, the problem sometimes arose that a new grave cut into an existing one KV10 Amenmes, KV11 Ramses III and KV47 Siptah